Please hold on. Merhabalar. Çok güzel sizleri görmek. Çok teşekkürler. Umarım herkes için uygundur. Türkçe değil İngilizce olacak yayınımız bugün. So Paris, you need to
there are people saying that the session is not live. Is it on YouTube as well?
Yes, we're going live on YouTube too, but everybody's hearing me now on Instagram. Okay,
how do I get on to the how do I get live on Instagram?
Tolga Hoca, Metin Hoca, can you please call Paris? Merhabalar, bugün sohbetimizde, birazdan Paris Bey'in katılacağı sohbetimizde gelecekte iş nasıl olacak bunu konuşacağız. Ve gelecekteki iş tabii ki aslında Covid-19 bir milatsa, kendisi bize katılana kadar ben bir parça önden sizlerle konuşmak istiyorum. Aramızda olduğunuz için çok teşekkürler. Sizlerle olmak çok güzel. Gelecekte iş dediğimiz şey aslında bugüne kadar alıştığımız şeylerden çok farklı. Malum Covid-19 tamamen hayatımızı değiştirdi. Ve bu değişiklik bizleri çok farklı bir yere doğru götürüyor. Covid-19 bir milat mı? Sizler ne diyorsunuz bu konuda? Bence bir milat. Bakalım sizlerin de görüşleri tabii ki çok kıymetli. Umarım hep birlikte çok keyifli bir sohbet olur. Arzu edenler aynı zamanda YouTube kanalından da dinleyebilirler. Bir sürü dost burada bizlerle. Çok teşekkürler geldiğiniz için. Paris Bey kendisi Madrid'deki dünyaca meşhur IE Üniversitesi'nde hem profesör hem de girişimcilik bölüm başkanlığını yapıyor. Dolayısıyla dünyada bu konulardaki en büyük otoritelerden biri. Şimdi izninizi rica ediyorum. 2 dakika kendisini bağlıyoruz lütfen. Çok güzel. İngilizce bilmiyorum diye yazmışsınız. Emojilerle anlaşırız tabii ki. Ben buradan sizlerin sorularını da alacağım aynı zamanda. Hatta şimdiden sorularınız varsa benimle de paylaşabilirsiniz. Bugünkü konumuz daha evvelden de paylaştığım gibi gelecekte iş. Bakalım ne gibi sorular da gelecek sizlerden bekliyoruz. So Paris, we're live on YouTube. Okay. And welcome to our. Somebody's asking me we can open a charity account on YouTube. Well, actually, we believe in open source, don't we? We believe that everything should be available for everyone to be shared. And thank you so much for being with us today in this call. I don't know if you haven't been able to join me on Instagram though, Paris. Have you?
No.
Okay. So everyone, you can actually listen to me here if you'd like. And we're also live on YouTube. You can check out our YouTube channel, Tink's YouTube channel. I'm going to be asking the questions here, and you can, and I can take your questions from Instagram. That's how we'll do it. Dr. Paris Delatraz, thank you very much for being on Tink Talks with us. This is actually the first Tink Talks that I am myself, Zeynep, doing on behalf of our school. It's something that we do every Wednesday. We used to do it face-to-face. But COVID-19 has enabled us to bring such esteemed leaders in education and in entrepreneurship and innovation with the Turkish viewers and with our students. So it's an honor for us to be hosting you. You are the professor at IE Business School, one of the top business schools in the world, and you're managing director of the Venture Lab. Unfortunately, you recently were diagnosed with COVID, but there is a really important point. Fortunately, you have recovered. And a lot of people are really worried about COVID-19. Could you just tell us about the process, how you were diagnosed, how everything went for you?
Okay. As you can imagine, in my university, we have students from all over the world, actually 180 countries. So it was not surprising that eventually I would catch this, because I'm, working with so many different students from all over the world. And in the early days of March, you may remember that Italy was the problem. And sure enough, we had a lot of Italian students coming back from Italy, and some of them are the ones that got originally sick. So I have a feeling that that's where I got it from, a lot of my favorite Italian students. But that's okay. I was home, and I think the first thing that you notice when you have COVID-19 is you start having a fever. Okay, you start having a fever.
What's the temperature? Is it, because everybody says a fever, but what kind of fever are we talking about?
We're not talking about a high fever. Well, it depends. You see, the symptoms are different for different people. I had 38. And
you had 38?
What?
You had 38 and you had COVID-19. I actually thought that it had to be higher than 39.
No, higher than 39, you need to see a doctor. I mean, you need to go to the hospital maybe.
I see, okay.
Okay, but if you have 38 and you don't feel well, there's a good chance you have it. Now, the things with COVID-19 is, the worst part of COVID-19 is if it attacks your lungs. And if it attacks your lungs, you need to go to the hospital. And that's when it can get really bad. Because either you stay there only a few days, or you end up being on a respirator. And if you're going into a respirator, it means your body can't breathe. And that's where it gets very serious. And a lot of people with preconditions don't come out of that. So, but I had students of mine at the school who were 27 years old, no preconditions, strong kids, and they ended up on respirators for 2 weeks because of COVID-19. So I was lucky. I was at home for 2.5 weeks with fever, but that kind of fever, 37, 38. I had a lot of body pains. I can tell you that, many nights I couldn't sleep. This is not the flu. It was tough, but I'm so grateful that I didn't end up in the hospital. And now the doctor came back a few days ago, like 5 days ago, and he said that I was over it. I didn't have any more symptoms. So now I'm just waiting around for them to be able to give me the test that actually says that I'm immune to it. And I can, hopefully when they open this lockdown, I'll be free again.
Yes. Well, I'm so sorry that you had to go through it. But actually, sometimes I wonder, maybe it's better to go through it and be done with it.
Yes. That's not very true. A lot of people were telling me, don't worry, it's probably the flu.
Yes.
And I was like, I don't want it to be the flu. Because it means that I'm going to be sick for 2 weeks, and then this virus is going to hit me, and I'll be like, in bed for 4 weeks.
Exactly.
So I am very happy to have gone through this because, the reality is that we're not going to be the same for a long time. Until they have a vaccine and they can produce that vaccine in big enough numbers, there are going to be two types of citizens. Those like me that had it, and those like you that don't have it.
I know. You're a superior human being in terms of your immunity to COVID-19 now.
Yeah, when we go back and they open these doors, what they're saying is that there'll be people that have like a big C on their chest. That means I had it. And then there'll be other people wearing masks, hiding in corners to make sure that they don't get it.
That's so true. That's so true. Sometimes I also wonder, I was talking to my parents about it. I wish I would have it so that I'd be done with it. But obviously, unfortunately, my heart goes out to all those people that we've lost and their families who have lost beloved ones. May everybody rest in peace. It's such a difficult time for everyone. And actually, it's heartening to be listening to someone who's been through this and who's now fine. Because we need good, positive examples. Everybody's talking about the negative aspects of COVID-19, which they have to do so. And it's been a very complicated period for human beings. And we were born at this time to be going through this. So what are your reflections on life after COVID-19? I'm sure it was a life-altering moment for you because nobody really knows what's going to happen to you while you're going through it. and perhaps you had quite a lot of time at your hands to think about life and the meaning of life and life after COVID-19.
Yes, that's a really good question. And in my case in particular, I turned 60 on March 21st.
Oh, wow.
So
congratulations.
My birthday, thank you. My birthday could not have been, worse in that respect. I was in the heart of the apex of what was going on here. And all my, for the last 20 years, people have been telling me, when you turn 60, your life's going to get disrupted. And I was waiting for that. But I did not expect it to be COVID-19. So yeah, the last couple of weeks, or the last 3 weeks really now, I've been doing a lot of thinking, and a lot of this stuff I was saying even before COVID-19, but now it really comes home. I think, I'm from the baby boomer generation, and most of the people watching probably are millennials, or somewhere in the middle. And what you notice about society today is that everybody's looking for meaning in their life.
Yes.
And this is in everything they do, whether it's a fancy watch or a fancy car, or I don't know, giving to a nonprofit cause. In everything that we do, I would say that most people are looking for meaning in their lives. And for some people it's status, power, whatever. Other people it's feeling good about giving back, whatever. The point is that when you go through something like this, you start to realize that you shouldn't be looking for meaning, so hard, because at the end of the day, it starts and it ends with you. Meaning is here, and you should find it in yourself. And I think this is one of the most important things that I got out of this is that, we overcomplicate our lives. We overcomplicate our lives, and at the end of the day, life is pretty simple. It's about wanting to be happy. And, happiness is not something that, is material, I think, in a way. Because when it's something material is what makes you happy, then when you don't have it, you're not happy. And, you should think about when you die, what are you going to take with you? And I thought about that during these days while I was sick. I thought, all of a sudden I could wake up tomorrow with a breathing problem. I go to the hospital, and in 2 days I'm dead. And I thought to myself, what am I going to take with me? And at that time, I put a video up on LinkedIn that 90,000 people saw. And over 3,000 people reached out to me personally, either on LinkedIn or WhatsApp or email. And I realized that I had, in the last 10 years since I've been a professor, a tremendous impact on so many people. And that's what you take with you when you die.
So that was we received a question on Instagram, and they're saying, what was the ultimate meaning for you? What is the ultimate meaning for you as a reflection of COVID-19, after COVID-19? What do you see as the meaning in your life? Is it the fact that you've added value to your students?
I think whether they're students or whether they're loved ones or whoever they are, they're your peers at work, you should strive to have an impact on society, a good impact, because that's what you take with you. And that's why, traveling is so important, meeting different cultures is so important, opening your mind to so many different things and having an impact on society and the people around you, I think is the most important thing I took away from this.
So impact, having an impact, and that's a wonderful way of looking at it. I, for example, myself, believe in the creation of value rather than profit making. Life should not be about profit making. It should be about creation of value. And value can be created in so many different forms. As a mother, it could be in the lives of your children or in cooking a beautiful meal for them. It doesn't have to be huge. It's just, every day we create value. And I think we very rarely appreciate the value that we create. That's also one of the things that we forget to do. And I'm hoping that COVID-19 allows us to stop what we've been doing, this rat race that we've been in, and to reflect on our lives and the things that really add value. So It's really wonderful to be with you here today. And one of the things that we were talking about while preparing for this talk, and in the video that you had shared with everyone, that made me reach out to you as well, you talked about uncertainty and how are we going to deal with uncertainty in life, especially in work life. And your research work has focused on what you call the PW index. Could you please talk about the PW index, because that really resonated so well with me. I found it fascinating. I'm sure all our viewers are going to find it fascinating.
Okay. Yeah. So my research and my PhD work had to do with the person's relationship with uncertainty. And what I found out early in my life was that there is a very clear separation between your relationship with uncertainty in your personal life and your professional life. Okay.
Yes.
When I was 18, I had a girlfriend, and after 6 months, she said to me, Paris, we got a problem. And I was like, what's the problem? She said, well, that's the problem. We never have problems. You're so predictable. She said to me, you bore me. I got girlfriends, boyfriends that, cheat on them, whatever. But you are totally predictable because, you're a bit nerdy. I mean, yeah, I was a nerd. And I, give me an example of being predictable. And she said, well, like when you tell me you're going to call me at 8 o'clock, what time do you call me? I'm like 8 o'clock. And she says, like, can't you call me at 8:15? Don't you understand that for a woman, those 15 minutes are amazing? So what I noticed was that at that time that I was a nerd. I loved certainty in my personal life, but I also loved it in my professional life. I studied mathematics, computer science. I was a programmer. Now I got really lucky, and I got hired away. I'm from California, but I was going to school in Boston. I got hired away to New York early on after graduation at 22, and I was put through a training program that completely disrupted me professionally. So I loved uncertainty professionally. I saw opportunity in uncertainty, which is what entrepreneurs see, which is beautiful. Yeah. But I was still calling my girlfriends at 8 o'clock. Okay? I was still calling my girlfriends at 8 o'clock. And so I was still a nerd at a personal level, but I had grown tremendously professionally. So I don't know if you have the chart, the slide in front of you there for the viewers. Do we have it now?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry.
Is the PW index chart there for the viewers?
Yes. Yes.
So I developed a theory that the P is your personal life, the W is your professional life. So I was a P1W1 when I was in Boston. I was a nerd in my personal life, and I was a nerd in my professional life. I hated uncertainty. When I went to New York, I became a P1W4. I went to the extreme. It may take you like 10 years to go from W1 to W2. But essentially, when you're a W3 or W4, you love uncertainty in your professional life. You're entrepreneurial minded. You think out of the box, all those things. So my theory is that you can and you must separate the personal from the professional, because we are different professionally and personally. And after 6 years of doing this research and interviewing over, surveying, interviewing over 15,000 people, what did we find? We found that 80% of the people who are W3s, W4s are P1, P2s in their personal life.
Wow.
So, I mean, look at examples. Mark Zuckerberg, Steve Jobs, all these people, they're very nerdy in their personal lives. But, like Steve Jobs, he was a P1, W4. And, this is an important message, because many of us who start being P1s, we think that we're forced to have W1 jobs, like, auditors, computer programmers, whatever, engineers. And the reality is that life is a balance. So actually, if you want to go crazy professionally, you're better off having this relationship with certainty in your personal life. We did a lot of research. We found that what I told you, 80% of W3, W4s were P1, P2s. But then we found 10% of the population are P4, W4. These are people that are like, they're comfortable being crazy in their personal life. They love uncertainty, but they also love uncertainty professionally. And then we found a lot of people that were P4s and had W1 jobs, and you think, wow, I mean, how, you meet this guy for a drink and you're thinking, this guy's like crazy. And then, during the day, he's a librarian. So life is a balance. And this research is very important because it's not only useful for measuring your comfort with uncertainty to know what your P and your W is, but we also found a relationship between the P and the W and emotional intelligence. I'm 60 years old. I'm a P2 W4. I'm not as nerdy as I was when I was, 18 or 22 in my personal life. But what we found is that the higher your comfort with uncertainty, the higher your emotional intelligence to an extent. And I relate to that because I have tremendous emotional intelligence with my students professionally, but in my personal life, I don't have a lot of emotional intelligence. And I find a lot of people relate to that. Now, you can teach people, which is another important thing here. You can teach people to move to the right on the W scale. You can teach them to be more comfortable with uncertainty. That means you can teach them emotional intelligence at work. But it's very difficult to teach emotional intelligence at home or comfort with uncertainty at home. And the reality is that if you're a P1 or a P2 and you're happy, why should you change? Most of the world is not happy. You don't need to have, like a Hollywood person to have a Silicon Valley mentality. The reality is that life is a balance, and we need an anchor most of the time to go crazy professionally. And, my goal, my mission professionally is to help people move to the right on the W scale. And it's situations like this, COVID-19, that make us realize that we need to be W3, W4s. Because if you're a W1 today, you're in a panic. What's going to happen to your job? Now, the other interesting thing is that it's also in situations like this that more and more people want to be P1, P2s because we're looking for certainty in our personal life. The last thing we want right now is uncertainty in a part of our lives if we can avoid it. And that's probably the only part right now that, you can try to have some certainty in.
It's wonderful. Well, coming from a country like Turkey, where we actually, as a society, we value P1s and P2s much more than P3s, P4s. It's just engraved in our genetical code, in our societal code, that you have a stable family life. And for many years, as I was growing up, I remember my mother telling me, Zeynep, anybody who succeeds in work, it has a really stable home life, family life. And that family life doesn't have to be the family that we believe the usual family life, but whatever makes you feel comfortable and makes you feel stable. So it could be your life, just to recap and ask if I am understanding you correctly, but somebody could choose to stay single and have a pet in their homes and have a very orderly personal life where there are no surprises, could indeed be P1, right?
Totally. But I'm not trying to make a statement that you need to be P1, P2 to be successful. If you're not being a P1, then, all the power to you. But you're right. Today, there are millions of people around the world who are P1, P2s. And in particular, with this COVID-19 situation, there are millions of people that are single. And there's only one thing you know for sure, and that's that they have a pet. And the relationship with their pet has now become stronger than ever. Yeah. I mentioned to you earlier when we spoke that I'd never really been to Istanbul. And for the last 12 months, I've been going to Istanbul like every 3 months. Yes. You have an amazing city there because I made an investment in a startup, Moshika, who this startup is the #1 luxury brand for fashion for pets in the world. Yeah. And at first you might think like, wow, that's crazy. And I'm used to investing in tech startups and things like that. But even before COVID-19, the relationship that people have with pets is just amazing. And when I see startups today, and I think, after COVID-19, it's even going to be stronger, our relationship with pets. So, but the point I was trying to make also is that when I see these CEOs of startups, and in the case, for example, of this startup in the pets, this Turkish lady who runs this company, they've actually reinvented themselves like never before during this COVID-19 situation, because they see so many opportunities now, people stuck at home when their best friend is their pet. And it's inspiring for me to see young people that are seeing, this situation and looking around and waking up every day and saying, the world is my oyster. I can do whatever I want, and I get to see opportunity out there. And that's why I'm, so passionate about pushing people to be W3, W4s, to embracing uncertainty in their professional life, because it'll make their life richer. Yeah. And it'll make them survivors.
So true. So true. Actually, when we established Tink, one of the things that we believed in is the only certainty in life going forward, this is even before COVID-19, is the fact that everything is going to change. Change is the only certainty when it comes to your work life and how the future is going to look like. It's going to be constantly changing. So, we have a question now that's on the screen for those of us who are watching us on YouTube, and we're asking you, and for those friends who are watching us on Instagram, what do you think is more important to be able to be successful professionally now? Is it IQ or EQ? And what do you think, parents? What is more important?
But we're waiting to ask them, right? Or do you want me to answer what I think?
Well, we are waiting to ask them, but we can talk about a little bit more about uncertainty and navigating uncertainty, because we talked about your PW index, and how most entrepreneurs are entrepreneurial-minded people tend to be more of risk takers, and they're able to deal with change, and they are more on the W3, W4 scale. We're not, and you've seen an indirect correlation between their innovative capabilities when it comes to work and their personal life risk-taking scale. But that by no mean. But you also said that you're not saying that we need to be P1s or P2s. That's not what we're saying. But it's just, that's what the study shows.
Yes, the study shows, as I said, that 80% of the people that are entrepreneur-minded, high EQ, are P1, P2s in their personal life. Now, why is it so important to be a W3, W4? Why is it so important to be comfortable with uncertainty professionally and have high EQ at work? Because if you look at it today, a lot of innovation is the user experience. I mean, just think about it. Whether it's Amazon, Airbnb, Uber, almost everything out there that has been disruptive, we have built relationships with. I mean, look, I have an iPhone. I have a relationship with my iPhone. I have a relationship with Alexa. I don't know if you guys have an Alexa, but I wake up every morning and I say, "Good morning, Alexa." So this may not be the best phone out there. It may not be the cheapest, and it's not the best or the cheapest. Okay. You tell me, here's another phone that's half the price and much more powerful. I don't want it, because I have a relationship with this. And how do you build relationships between products and people? Through emotional intelligence, empathy. Amazon spends every day trying to solve our pain points. So the fewer pain points we have when we're, with Amazon, buying on Amazon, the more our relationship increases with Amazon.
Yes.
So, people like Amazon, companies like Amazon, like Facebook, LinkedIn, all these people, they're trying to hire people. All these companies want to hire people with a lot of emotional intelligence, because there's nothing more important today than empathy with the customer. Or as Jeff Bezos says, an obsession with the customer. And this is what this is all about. And that's why, if you think you needed emotional intelligence before, you need it more than ever now. And post-corona, even more, because post-corona, our lives are going to be different. I know we're going to talk about that a little later, but that's why I think that in the past we were and maybe this leads to the next question that you want to talk about is education today, right?
Yes, exactly. So well, somebody is asking about DQ, something that I think we talk about. So the digital quotient and digital capabilities. There are many different quotients that are coming into play right now, and thank you for asking that. Yes, most of the responses I've received on Instagram were actually on EQ. So let me come to my next question. As you mentioned, what are we teaching students now? What's wrong with education?
Okay.
Or is there anything wrong with education?
Yeah, there's a lot wrong with education. But before I answer that question, back to your digital Q or whatever that is, digital transformation. Everybody's been talking about it, right? Now, all of a sudden, we've been hit like by a truck. This is like a wake-up call. If your digital index doesn't go up after this crisis, you're going to get left behind.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? This is like the biggest wake-up call. Digital transformation is the answer now to a lot of things. And, if we had a problem before with, getting on that bus, now if that bus leaves us behind, we're dead. Which comes to, the question you're asking here, education.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example. Education has been a problem in the past. They did a study in London, and they looked at 5-year-old kids, and they found that 95% or 97% of 5-year-old kids were creative. They followed those 5-year-old kids until they were 15. At that point, about 12% were creative. What happens to us between the ages of 5 and 15? Education.
Cool.
Cool. Education, obviously, not Tink, of course, but
clearly not.
or IE, not IE. But traditional education is training us for a predictable world.
Yeah.
And the world is more and more uncertain. So you have this dichotomy of, why are you training me for a world that doesn't make mistakes? Why do I get hired on purely the basis of IQ that I never, got a wrong answer? And that's why you're finding that a lot of companies are saying, what, I want you to have some IQ. I don't want you to be an idiot, okay? But I want to make sure that this person can relate to others, is adaptable. That's why when you put on your CV, I spent 6 months in Tanzania working with, tribes that did, all of a sudden Stanford or Harvard or some of these schools, or maybe even, Facebook, Google, Amazon, they're like, I want to hire that person. Why? Because they've been taken out of their comfort zone and they've now gotten comfortable with uncertainty. And now, more than ever before, when these companies start to hire and this thing starts to calm down, everybody is going to want to hire on the basis of EQ, comfort with uncertainty, your PW index. We've been doing research. We've been doing studies at companies for the last year, going into a company, looking at an entire department and doing the PW index analysis. And sure enough, the company would tell us, why do we have so much turnover in this department? And when we come out and do the PW index, well, it's pretty easy. Employees love bosses that have low Ps because they're like predictable.
Yeah.
But if your employee has an average W of 3 and your manager has an average W of 1, you got a problem there, because that manager can't inspire you. He doesn't challenge you. And life's too short. You're not going to hang around there. You're going to find the next company. 40% of our lives is work. So you're going to find somewhere that challenges you every day. You're going to find a boss somewhere that has at least the W. And that's why, we're doing PW indices on entire companies, on entire departments, and helping companies to upgrade the W on either their employees or their managers. And this is very related to digital transformation, because one of the big reasons why your digital index or you shied away from digital transformation is because of the uncertainty. But now it's like, you know, it's there. It's a wake-up call.
Well, it's actually, the way I see it is, so if we take it back to education, education has been built upon the principle that everything is predictable, and education actually teaches everyone to be predictable. Because this was what we needed back when the current education system that we use was built. But now education systems all around the world, this is not only applicable for Turkey, but all around the world, they need to go through a major transformation. And most of the, you know, a lot of jokes have been up about COVID-19, and everybody is saying, who led the digital transformation in your company? Is it your CEO? Is it your CIO? Or is it COVID-19? And sure enough, obviously, the answer is COVID-19. So in a way, you know, call it God, call it whatever you want to call it, but, you know, some force that is bigger than us to use the benefits of technology, because we are wasting most of our time on things that we could be doing online, and we could be collaborating across the board. Why not have a wonderful, you know, class taught by you sitting in Turkey? We can do this, but we have just, the system doesn't allow it. The system prohibits us from doing that. But we now have to change the way we look at education and what we expect from education. But obviously, you know, you are a professor at IE, and IE is one of the top online MBA schools, well, amongst other things. But what is the secret recipe of its success? How has it become so successful? Even before COVID-19. So you actually, IE predicted the future and was a leading change maker.
Yes, IE has been around for about 40, 45 years. And we had, you know, the real luck that IE had was, or has, is that it has a visionary leader running. This is a family company where the father and son team are truly visionaries in terms of where they see the company or the organization and where they see the education. The president of the university has been a thought leader in the reinventing also higher education for a long time. Between, you know, the whole management of the school is so obsessed with the idea that we need to break boundaries here in terms of taking higher education to another level. And that's why very early in the history of IE, they invested in online education. And they realized, you know, long before this happened, that the future of education was going to be blended. Because that was the only way. And, you know, we are number 2, I think, in the world today in terms of blended MBAs. We have an MBA, an amazing MBA with Brown. You know, it's just amazing the number of programs. Almost every program that we do, you know, a degree program has a online equivalent, a blended equivalent. And what we find is that it's not so much the technology, because technology at the end of the day is pretty much a commodity, but it's the methodology that is so critical to making sure that your experience online is the same as the one face-to-face. And that's the challenge that we're, you know, facing right now around the world. And I think, you know, we're doing a pretty good job at IE, and I can see it in my students. I'm teaching online all the time now. And if you look at some of my LinkedIn posts, you'll see that the students are embracing this because they feel engaged. You know, the methodology has to be such that it engages the students. So, you know, I think that we've been lucky in that respect, and I think you're going to be seeing a lot of amazing stuff in the future. I mean, one of the things we have a thing called the Wow Room that was developed, you know, several years ago, and it's like a room where you have, I think it's like 50 screens, and every screen is a different person around the world in your classroom. And it's just amazing the things you can do to interact with those people. Well, yeah, what can I say? I don't want this to be a sales pitch for IE, but yeah, IE has done a tremendous job in leveraging online blended education, and you know, the timing could not have been better. You know, in terms of COVID-19. There's something else I want to say that, you know, we were talking about a little bit earlier in terms of, you know, what needs to be taught. And sure enough, emotional intelligence needs to be taught. But there's a word that, has always been had a bad rap, and that's the word rhetoric.
Yes.
When you hear the word rhetoric, people are like, oh, Julius Caesar, all these things, Hitler, a whole bunch of stuff that is like bad rhetoric. Rhetoric is very simple, people. It's logos, ethos, and pathos. Logos is the arguments that you make. Ethos is how credible you are. Pathos is the emotions you stir in the audience.
Yes.
Rhetoric is such an important part of our lives. 99% of our life is rhetoric. Love is 100% pathos. It makes no sense, okay? There are no arguments that you can make. It's 100% pathos. Religion is 100% pathos. It's pure faith. Economics is 100% rhetoric. Sure, you have some logical arguments, but at the end of the day, they're all socially constructed. Talk to me about economics today, right? Hello? Yeah. So the only thing that's not rhetoric in life today is like algebra, physics, things like that. So, we need to teach people rhetoric. When Steve Jobs got up in Las Vegas in 2008, when he got up there and introduced the iPhone, he could have said, this is a device that reads email, allows you to search on the web, and allows you to store music. That would have been 100% logos. An engineer talking to engineers. But what did he do? He said, do you see this device? It's going to change your life. That's pathos.
Yes.
That's what inspires. You need to be inspired in life. I mean, look at GoPro. What's the tagline under GoPro?
I'll be a hero. Yes, of course. You need to create a love brand, as in the former company we used to talk about.
That's exactly the point. You want to create a relationship with your customers. Look at Nike. Go for it.
Yeah.
Even with this startup that I was talking about, Moshika, their tagline is celebrate the love of pets. All these things are things that make you dream. And why is dreaming important? What I said at the very beginning of this talk, we're all looking for meaning in our lives.
Yes.
But we shouldn't look too far. We should, if your pet is what makes you dream, then celebrate their love. Buy something that makes you feel good about how you feel, about your pet. So, I think we're going to see, and we need to see, much more emphasis on teaching students about humanities. And that's, one of the things that's, big about IE. We're a business school, but we're big in humanities, really big. And we need to teach our students, our professionals, rhetoric. Rhetoric is the art of persuasion. It's not necessarily a bad thing if you use it well.
Certainly not. Actually, on our feed, we have Nurten Akkuş, who won the Global Teacher, who was nominated for the Global Teacher Prize. Yes, exactly. Hocam hoş geldiniz. So it's great to have her on board as well, because she teaches kindergarten, and this is what she teaches her students, and that's why she was nominated for the Global Teacher Prize. So what you're talking about, the fact that we sometimes look too far behind, and we forget all of the things that are of value to us. I think that is really so critical in life. And we're all looking for meaning in life, even before COVID-19. I think even more so before COVID-19. Everybody was so busy trying to fill their day-to-day activities and basically make room for anything that really left meaning, that we had lost direction in a way. And now we have time to think about our direction and where we see meaning, what is meaningful for us. I think this is going to be one of the main pillars of success going forward. We need to figure out what we love to do, what makes us happy. And you talked about that in your video as well. And I strongly believe this because going forward, we'll be mainly working from home. If not from home, we'll be working on our own, and we'll be companies will be hiring our services. And in order to enjoy doing that work without someone forcing us to do that, we need to be doing what we love, because our work is almost at least 40% of our lives. And I'm one of those people who's blessed with that kind of life. I love what I do. I have some of my students here now who are watching us online, some of our parents, I'm sure you have too. And it's such a pleasure to see them grow into the people that they will become and they were meant to be. It's the biggest gift in life.
Impact, exactly. The impact on others is the biggest gift.
Yes.
It's the most gratifying thing you can do.
Exactly. But we can have impact. It doesn't have to be impact at a large scale. I think that's one of the things that we also forget. You could be making an impact on your pet. You could be making an impact on your family by, keeping your house clean. There's so many ways of creating impact. It doesn't have to, we just need to start from our core. And from the core, then you move on. At least this is what I believe in. So the other question that we are now asking our viewers, hope everybody's still watching, but I see that we have friends watching. What is the future of education going to be like? Is it going to be distance learning, or is it going to be blended? What kind of education is waiting for us? And that's the last question I would like to ask you, because we're already past our time. It's been such a wonderful conversation. So what's the future of education, Paris? Where do you see it going?
I see education, I totally see it blended. I mean, I had this discussion with my boss recently, and he's obsessed with this idea that, we should not go back to 100% face-to-face education. We have to go to a blended format because we don't know in the future whether it's going to be a tsunami, an earthquake, or another pandemic, whatever. And the reality is that if we are going to go into digital transformation, if we're going to become more digitally savvy, we need to be able to be comfortable with the technology. If I need to be able to persuade you in business, to do pitches in business online, and this is a big thing right now. A lot of people are like, how do I do a pitch online? And this is critical. So it's very important to be able to understand that our world has changed. Our relationship with each other has changed. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's not personal, but it's gonna be a little more distant. And I think that was coming anyways. There was a prediction that in the US by 2030, 50% of individuals were going to be freelancers.
50%.
50%.
Wow.
Now, a lot of people think, why do I want to be a freelancer? Freelancing is great. Why? Because, you have flexibility. But to be a freelancer, what's the most important thing? You need to love what you do.
Yes.
There's no pension. There's no sick leave. That's the bad stuff of freelancing. But you get to, the way I like to explain it is that my generation was comfortable, was satisfied with having a good job. We made money and we did whatever we wanted with the money. Millennials, they don't want a good job. They want a great job. They want a job that gives them just enough money so they can enjoy their lives. And some of them, sure, they're a lot more ambitious than others, but millennials want a great job. And a great job today is increasingly one that gives you the flexibility to work a few days from home, to have, flexibility to also learn about other subjects. So it's those companies like Google, for example, and Amazon and a few others that actually give their employees the ability to have some spare time, in particular, like in the case of Google, to be a little innovative and, work from home a few days a week. That's the future of where we're going in terms of work. And that's why education needs to prepare us for that. Not for a predictable world, but for a world where this could happen again. And we need to be ready for that.
Well, yes, actually, the OECD had come up with a skills map, and what they were saying was the people that we want to raise as the next generation are those who can anticipate change and, you know, not only manage when the change comes, but who can anticipate it and become change agents themselves. So I think the future is going to be very predictable when it comes to, and we need to be able to help our students anticipate the changes that are and change leaders for societal good, because we all have respective duties. We live in this world together. We cannot, from now on, I think COVID-19 has been a very good example, almost a proof of the fact one is happy. So we need to make sure that we all strive for that and share whatever information, knowledge that we have, and try to change and transform education so that we can help students be this type of people.
Yeah, and I think governments now have a unique opportunity to take advantage of this and create the new model of education.
Exactly.
We need to start at K through 12. You cannot just focus on the university students.
It's too late. It's too late. That was why we started Tink, because we want Tink, our school, be a model for the rest of the developing nations, not only for Turkey. And we're happy to share the blueprint with anybody who wants to learn. And nothing is only for us. It's time to share everything. That's why our lessons are now free for anybody who wants to watch them. And I think we can do so much more by collaborating. I am truly grateful for your time and for your insights. Thank you so much for being our guest on Tink Talks today. Thank you.
Well, I only look forward to the next opportunity I can have to have dinner in one of those amazing